In a small town, a string of brutal murders had left the residents living in fear. The victims were all young women, and the police were no closer to finding the killer. Everyone had a theory about who was responsible, but no one had any solid evidence. The story revolves around a young journalist, named Sarah, who decides to investigate the murders herself. She begins by talking to the victims' friends and families, and soon discovers that all of the women had one thing in common: they had all been involved in a local self-help group. Sarah decides to infiltrate the group, posing as a new member. She attends meetings and starts to get to know the other members. But as she delves deeper into the group, she begins to realize that there is something sinister going on. She starts to receive threatening messages, and strange things begin to happen to her. Her car is vandalized, and she finds a dead rat in her mailbox. But Sarah is determined to get to the bottom of the mystery and keeps digging. As she gets closer to the truth, the killer begins to close in on her. Sarah soon finds herself in a race against time to unmask the killer before they strike again. But with no one to trust and the killer always one step ahead, will she be able to solve the case before it's too late? As Sarah continues her investigation, she discovers that the self-help group is actually a cult led by a charismatic but dangerous leader named David. He preys on vulnerable women and convinces them to join his group, promising to help them with their personal problems. But in reality, he's manipulating and controlling them, using their secrets and fears against them. Sarah learns that David has been using the cult to cover up his crimes and that he's the one behind the murders. She knows she has to act fast before he kills again. But David is always one step ahead, and he's determined to keep his secrets hidden. Sarah starts to receive even more threatening messages, and she is sure that David is behind them. She also realizes that David is aware of her true identity and is watching her every move. Sarah decides to go to the police with her evidence, but the police don't believe her and tell her that she is imagining things. With no one to turn to, Sarah is forced to take matters into her own hands. With the help of one of the cult's members who had managed to escape, Sarah sets a trap for David. They lure him to a remote location and confront him. In a tense standoff, David confesses to his crimes and reveals the location of the bodies of his victims. But David is not going to go down without a fight. He pulls out a knife and lunges at Sarah. In a desperate struggle, Sarah manages to overpower David and turns him over to the police. Thanks to Sarah's bravery and determination, the town is finally able to put the killer behind bars, and the residents can sleep peacefully again. But Sarah is left haunted by the experience and the knowledge of the evil that lurks in plain sight.